Welcome to the Stree Shakti series at the Coffee Conversation Show powered by the Emerging India Forum TEIF and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is The Modern Monk, where boardrooms meet the Bhagavad Gita. In a world racing toward productivity and profit, few pause to ask, what without presence? Our guest today is someone who not only asks that question but helps leaders find their own answers. Meet Aanshul Bafnaa, fondly known as a ModMonk, a bridge between modern management and ancient wisdom. With over 17 years of experience across global corporations, academia, and spiritual coaching, she brings the timeless teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Indian knowledge systems into the heart of corporate boardrooms. Through the ModMonk Consultancy, Anshul guides CEOs, founders, and professionals to lead consciously, live authentically, and cultivate calm amidst chaos. From TEDx stages to executive retreats, she's redefining leadership not as power over people, but presence within oneself. And we are now at AWFIS Lower Parel, and we also come to know Anshul as a person. So, welcome Anshul to today's Coffee Conversation episode.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let me explain you. There will be 3 rounds: professional, personal, and a surprise rapid fire round.
Wonderful.
Where
Okay.
you have to be witty, fun, and quick, and years of inspiration, niche marketing.
Wonderful.
So let's begin the first round.
Sure.
Friend of Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. So my first question for your professional journey round, Anshul. You have beautifully merged corporate leadership with spiritual wisdom. How did this journey begin for you? And how has the journey been till date? And what are the key defining moments you had?
Wonderful. It's an amazing first question. I think spirituality and leadership has always been in the same flow of being. It's really not been very different. And for me, I think coming from a family where business and entrepreneurship was very natural as an individual, I always thought when we entered boardrooms, and I've kind of dealt with boardrooms before, and conversations and conferences, and when you cannot connect that energy with an individual, when a person walks into a room and does not feel right, does not set right, that alignment is not there. I think that is what kind of brought me to get these two things together, consciousness and leadership. But having said that, I would really like to say that spirituality and leadership or consciousness and workspace are not very different. They're not merged. They're together, have always been together. And my job has not been merging the two, but has been just removing the blocks, that the separation between the two that we have created in our minds at workspaces. And it has been a fantastic journey, reaching out to so many leaders and corporate CEOs and managers, and just trying to understand that they have been doing stuff ever since without realizing that they're actually probably subconsciously blending spirituality and consciousness and ethics in the kind of work that they do.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's build up the conversation.
Sure.
Workspace spirituality sounds intriguing. How do you introduce this concept to companies rooted in traditional business models and to business leaders?
Well, if I had to go into a boardroom and tell them that can we talk spirituality, I probably will land up in a problem. No, so you cannot really go and talk. Let's talk spiritual stuff. However, they're actually working with that, right? Indian traditional India looks at 4 areas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha, where dharma is the root of everything, where artha is economics, kama is of course desires, ambitions, etc., and where consciousness comes is moksha. But of course, you cannot get into a boardroom and tell them, let's talk consciousness and spirituality and mantra and meditation. They probably will show me the door. But what we do is we introduce them to the energy that they carry. How do you feel when you enter the room? How do you deal with people when you are conflicting inside? So there is something called as, office conflicts that we have, internal conflicts that we have. And how do you deal with that? Can we slow down the way we think? Can we slow down the way we take decisions? And that is the way that we're introducing spirituality, consciousness in everyday workspace. Where of course, when they come back and then say this really worked, then they will not ask how spiritual this is, because it's working. It's basics. It's daily work.
Wow, beautiful. So, do you believe spirituality can coexist with corporate ambition, or must one be sacrificed for the other?
No, why do you need to sacrifice something? I think it's completely, they can coexist together. In fact, spirituality will make your ambition a little more purer, it will make it more aligned. And if it's only ambition without spirituality or consciousness, then I think it will become just greed and hunger to reach somewhere. It will not be aligned. So there are two types, right? So when you look at spirituality, you're only let's say leadership. When we look at only consciousness and leadership, then we're looking at leadership with purpose. But if you're looking only leadership and ambition, then we're looking at wanting something with greed. We need to align leadership to spiritual, conscious awareness, grounding, anchoring, to actually reach out to people with more awareness.
Beautiful. So, my next interesting question: how do you measure success in spiritual leadership, since it's less tangible than numbers or KPIs?
This is a question I get asked most often when we go to corporate offices and boardrooms. Yes, sab theek hai, but how are you going to check mark or checklist, or what is the 0 to 5 scale? But there is no 0 to 5 scale to measure ambition, to measure spirituality at workplaces. But what we can measure is how you've changed as an individual. Can you calm when you enter the room? Does that room energy change? Do your decision making, has it become more quiet? Has it become more clear? Have you gotten the more clarity in thinking through? Can you see more clearly as to what people are thinking, or how they're experiencing things that you're in your team? And that peace, that silence, that tranquility in conversation with a leader will tell you that this has shifted.
Wow, beautiful. Okay, so there are different EQs. Sorry, different apna quotients: EQ,
Correct.
IQ,
SQ.
SQ, RQ. Let's focus on, because you work on spirituality.
Yes.
What if you want to explain SQ, spirituality quotient, to someone? How will you go about it?
So when we speak about spirituality, Raniji, I think we need to understand that it's a very Western world. When we look at it a little more Indianized way, we call it Adhyatma. So it's understanding yourself, Atma ka Adhyayan, the study of yourself is spirituality. So if you had to explain somebody what is your SQ, let's say spiritual quotient, that means we need to first introduce that individual to what energy is. And energy, in the West world today, everybody is talking about energy in different ways. But simply, when let's say, when you've entered the room, how did you feel? When you have a conversation, do you feel anxiety? Do you feel fear? Do you feel calm when you meet the person? That is the energy that you are carrying in a room. So once you understand that and you work with that, so why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What is the awareness factor? That will then introduce the person to the spiritual. The higher the awareness, the higher the spiritual quotient will be of an individual.
So let's build a conversation. You often speak about energy consciousness.
Yes.
How does that translate into day-to-day leadership decisions?
Energy consciousness, I was just talking about energy, right? So when we talk about energy, it's what you carry. So let's say we've had a conversation right now, and you again go out and you meet somebody else, you will carry what you've gotten from here to there, and everybody does that. The times 20 years before, I think people used to say, don't bring your personal stuff to offices. But that's not true, because you're going to carry energy from office to home, and homes to somewhere else. In the Vedic, the Indian way, we call it samskaras. So the energy that's transferred. So when we look at these energy transfers, and that's how you can probably look at how individuals and consciousness will be in the energetic factor.
Wow. Okay, so thank you for leading me. What's one challenge leaders face today that ancient Indian knowledge system can uniquely solve for them?
I think I can give you a whole list that can go with leaders today. And one of the major ones is fear uh, and isolation, because the leaders on the top level, they do feel very isolated, because like the whole weight of everything is on their shoulders, and they feel very lonely in that space. And the fear of not being able to match up to expectations, fear of not being valued enough for the organization or the team, that can be there. And when it comes to Vedic systems or Indic IKS, which I call Indian knowledge system, there are so many scriptures that talk about it, and Upanishad speaks about it, and Bhagavad Gita, but it also speaks of a very interesting thing. If you can introduce, I am not the doer but the instrument, and Sri Krishna speaks about that in Bhagavad Gita. He says that you are not the doer of anything. You're an instrument where things are being done through you. When leaders understand that and they can really implement and integrate this part in their everyday leadership styles, I think that will be fantastic. When you
Can you
don't,
build up more? Now you brought up Bhagavad Gita.
yeah,
I have listened to an attendance play also from Apna Nikhil Nandai, and he talks about leadership lessons in from
Gita,
Gita, Mahabharata, Krishna,
correct.
and yet what do you say, performed, produced a beautiful play on Krishna.
Yeah.
And I want to do, what do you say, a fireside chat with him and you
Oh,
on
wouldn't that
leadership
be
lessons.
amazing?
So, in your intro, also we talked about where boardrooms meet Bhagavad Gita. Can you elaborate on this? How does boardroom meet Bhagavad Gita for viewers out there?
So let's say Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, of course, and we know
Yes.
that. Mahabharata does not happen just on Kurukshetra, the land of Kurukshetra. Your mind is Kurukshetra.
Yes.
Okay, so whatever is happening on that land is happening in your mind every single day. So you do have those 100 vices that you have as an individual: greed, fear, lust, insecurity. Those are your Kurus, the Kuru clan, the 100 of them. And then you have 5, the Pandavas, which is your all 5 senses. And then you have Krishna, the charioteer, who is holding that, the consciousness that's holding those 5. It's holding those 5 senses in control, so you can deal. So every single day in a boardroom, when you're taking decisions, that conflict is happening. Should I take this side or should I take that side? Where do I go? Whom do I choose? Will I hurt you have to take decisions. Sometimes you've got to hurt somebody you really like in an organization, but that's the right path to take. So that's where dharma comes in play. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. You will have to, there will always be dharma conflict. There'll always be the situation where you will be in, where you will say that I could do this and I could do that. But then what do you choose? So then you always step back, look at those 5 senses, and look at your super consciousness, which if you personify Krishna there, as in Bhagavad Gita, and he's not telling you not to do it. Even in the 18th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, after he's explained the whole thing, after he's shown the Vishwa Roop and everything, he says, Yathachasi tatha kuru. That means, do as you please. So in boardrooms, we always use black whiteboards, and we'll take everything there. We'll identify the issues, we'll look at what are the options, what are the permutation combinations, what are the critical path analysis for this situation if we take this. But then what do we choose? That choice always depends on us, and everything is going to have a consequence. We choose what's the best for, not for you, but for the whole team, the whole organization. And that's what it's extremely detailed, and I can go on and on and on about this.
So that's why I said, no, get that fireside chat.
Absolutely.
So more. Okay. So how do you help leaders maintain balance between emotional steadiness and business competitiveness?
Emotional steadiness and competition, really, you don't need a balance. Once you understand the emotional quotient of your being, once you become like a steady lake, your competitiveness will not be aligned to greediness. So once they understand that it is not just about taking more, but being anchored, being emotionally stable, the competition will become richer. It will not be about pulling somebody else down, it will be rising all together. So I think educating leaders about this, and when I say educating, that doesn't mean they do not know it. It's just not integrated in everyday life, and they don't know how to blend that in everyday life.
Beautiful. So, Anshul, as you have worked with both Indian and global organization companies,
Yeah.
do perception of spirituality differ across geographies, and how do you work with their differences?
Yeah, they do differ. They do differ. Geographically, I think everything usually shifts. When we look at Eastern India or the Eastern section, it's more Easternized, it's more internal, it's more ritualistic, it's more everyday process. When we look at the Western way of the West audience per se, they look at spirituality as studied, as more they intellectualize those concepts more, where we internalize those concepts more. um, I think that is where the differentiation is there. But however, as we go forward, it's going to be a fusion, it's going to be wisdom with soul, so it's going to kind of blend together. And I think as the years go by, it's going to be more internal than just ritualistic or studied concept. It's not like do four breath works, because Western audiences usually look at that and they say, "Oh, let's do four breath works before you start a meeting." And I, and I actually went there and asked, "So, do you know why you're doing it? What is that thing that's going to shift in you?" But that is not known. It's because the research says so. And that's, I think that is the little gap where people don't, they, like I said, spirituality is an English word, adhyatma is an Indian word. That's where the difference is. They need to understand it's not about outside things, it's about inside.
Wow.
I think that's the perception that's a little different.
So, Anshul, your conscious leadership circle
Yeah.
has gathered immense traction. What inspired you to start it, and how has it evolved over the years?
I think Conscious Leadership Circle came last year, and because I've been meeting a lot of people across the globe, I've been talking to a lot of senior managers, CEOs, CFOs, and VPs. I've seen that they, like I said, I began with saying that they're very isolated. Sometimes they feel lonely. Everybody gets a dip. It's not that everybody is in the leadership role 24/7. They do feel, they're humans. And um, and at the same time, I've met a set of people who know how to deal with it, who are using adhyatma and spirituality to internalize things, to align themselves with the actual energy, the purpose, and they have used these techniques to make best of their teams, make best of their career, be on the top and yet be very anchored. And I wanted to reach out to people to tell them that people are doing this, from finance to marketing to legal to all areas of work, and people are using spirituality as an anchor to do the best that they can do and still be because when people say spirituality is escapism, it's a very common thing when they say, why meditate escapism, calm karo. But when you are actually anchored, you will get more work done instead of less work done. So I wanted to reach out to people so that people can hear their stories and see how they have succeeded and used spirituality and consciousness to do best in their work.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Anshul, how has your MSc in business psychology from University of Westminster London help your work on spiritual leadership? It's my first part. And what made you do MSc in business psychology from University of Westminster? Why this college or university you selected?
So the first part is how it helped me, right? So I'll
Yes.
tell you the second part first. Why it helped me, because I was already into therapy work. I was already doing regression. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm a healer. I do a lot of spiritual healing work. By that time, I'd already gotten two of my masters. One is from marketing, and second is from MICA advertising. and I was working here in Bombay, and I was practicing all of these things. And I was thinking if I could, because my journey began as into spiritual work much younger, when I was 7, 8 years old, I was already inclined to spirituality and consciousness. And I was thinking, can I get something that explains psychology and can blend those two things very correctly? Because I truly believe psychology and spirituality go hand in hand. They're like two sides of one coin. And that's why MSc in business psychology. I wanted to understand businesses, I wanted to understand psychology, how decisions are made, and then see how spirituality inclined, because spiritual psychology is the route I wanted to go, and that's by that. And how it has helped, your first part of the question, um, it helped me get names to the behavior that people are experiencing, the trauma. It gave me structure to the trauma that people were experiencing. I was already dealing with people who were experiencing a lot of things, going through things, but this gave me like a framework, like a structure to what in cognitive behavior, in decision making, in conflict resolution and negotiation. All of the psychological concepts gave me a structure, and I then put that over my spiritual studies, and then that's how workspace spirituality is what I do.
Beautiful. So, Anshul, how did TEDx happen to you, and how has the experience been?
TEDx first happened in, I think, 2017, second in 19. One of my friend nominated me for that, and I was lucky to be a part of TEDx. And how did it feel, you asked me, right?
Now, how was the experience?
The experience was wonderful. I think it's a wonderful platform to be in. It gives you a recognition by itself. It gives your work the external value that you feel that you're actually making a difference. And like I said, I'm the instrument. So as long as I'm the instrument in doing my job very well, I think TEDx has given me a wonderful platform to showcase the kind of work that I do.
Beautiful. So now let's come to your journey as an author. What inspired you to become an author, and how has the experience been?
Honestly, I've been writing for the last 9 years and I've never published. Last year was the first one, which was not even in the radar that needed to be published. It was one of my friends who pushed me that can you at least write for people who want to begin their journey? Can you write for that? And that's why I don't have the book here, but it's called The Walking Inward, The Spiritual Wanderlust. It speaks about 21 simple stuff and how an individual can begin their journey in the spiritual world. And that's what it is about. And I've been an, I can't say an author because I've just published last year, but I've been into writing ever since I was a child. I've written poetries and pieces of work. So writing is a form of expression for me. So I've always been into that. It's been a wonderful journey. I think people have written back to me saying, "Oh, this really resonates," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm glad then it reached out to you." So It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Beautiful. So, Anshul, my last question for your professional journey, or before that, I'm a little curious. Yeah, who inspires you from the world of leaders who take up involve spirituality or energy work or Mahabharata or ancient scriptures for creating leaders?
Krishna. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there are many, many, many more. There have been such wonderful people. There's been Adi Shankaracharya. There has been Ratan Tata from business. There have been wonderful leaders from both business, pure spiritual aspect, and both included. But I would say Krishna because he knew in the war at the same time to follow dharma. He knew being in politics and not being involved in it. He knew to be completely, he was the one who was spreading love and everything else, but not being attached. So while you have everything and an amazing leader, but still not really attached to anything that he had, I think he's a fantastic leader.
Very true.
Yeah.
So my last question, for young professionals entering high stress environments, what's your advice for cultivating inner calm early in their careers?
Slow down. First thing is slow down, breathe. I know it might sound very cliche and saying, okay, breathe, but you need to slow down to understand what really is happening without fear. I think that is something the younger generation needs to know, to create infrastructure within themselves before you're looking outside. Because no matter how much you do outside, no matter how many zillion dollars or rupees or whatever you make, will not give you peace until you have found that anchor. So do everything, but make sure that you're anchored very well internally. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. You will feel that you're floating somewhere in the middle. After some time, yes, you will.
So I'm a little curious while going through the questions.
Sure.
You call yourself the modern monk. Can you explain for viewers out there
Sure.
why you call yourself the modern monk or the mod monk?
I am very grateful and humbled. I don't call myself the modern monk. In 2015, there was an interview in a full page interview where they were talking about spirituality and work and this, that, and the other. And so they came up with the headline and say, "Oh, you're the mod monk," because I follow the rituals of a monk in many ways. With the Himalayan mountains included. But I live in the modern world. I travel the world. I talk to people. And they say, oh, so that means you're a modern monk. So that's where the name came. And I absolutely fell in love because that was giving the right blend to the dichotomy that we have. Spirituality and modern world cannot go together. Well, of course they can go together. Why cannot they? They're a part of each other, completely merged. So that's why the name Mod Monk has come, and it has happily stayed, and I've taken it with a lot of gratitude.
Okay. You know, this book is there, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yes, Robert Sharma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how do you relate to that book and to your title of the Mod Monk or your work?
I've read this book like 20 something years ago, but if I recollect, of course he was very well to do. Then he sold off his Ferrari and he went to Himalayas, and then he had the whole spiritual experience and he came back. That's the underlying thing of the monk who sold his Ferrari. And I think that's the underlying with anybody who is really into the spiritual path in the modern world. If you see all the spiritual people, then maybe Krishna or Adi Shankaracharya or Gautam Buddha or Mahavir Bhagwan, they all came from a very well-to-do families.
Yes.
And what brought them to spirituality is that inner hunger of finding themselves, because one thing was already taken care of. And where I connect with the monk who sold his Ferrari is it's very true. After you've gotten everything, I think what really remains is who you are. I believe in reincarnation. And I feel that because I'm also a past life regression therapist, I believe that you carry your samskaras to your next life.
Yes.
You cannot carry things, but you can surely carry skill sets, your attributes, your value systems. Some of the other things will always be carried. And when that is carried, you tend to get in that path. And that's where I resonate with the monk who sold his Ferrari, because when you do have everything, there is still something that remains, that you feel something's not complete. And that little space in between makes you sell your Ferrari.
Okay, so let's go to the next round.
Sure.
The personal journey round, and understand Anshul as a person. Sure. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
I come from a business family, from automobile, transportation. Now I probably call myself as the orange of the black sheep. So I've been, they've been a very open-minded set of parents that I've had. Luckily, they've never, and my mother's side has been very spiritually inclined. So I think it runs through in blood from there. I have been in a family where praying has been common, but more ritualistic than spiritualistic. Um, that always kind of that's something that's where I question myself, that this is not feeling complete. So my formative years have always been out of place. I've always felt I don't belong. Uh, but gladly, that question actually helped me reach where I am right now. I've studied in different places, like in boarding schools. I spent about 8.5 years in London. I studied in India, lived everywhere. I've seen the world through many eyes. And I feel ancient because I remember a lot of my old stuff. I really, really feel very ancient, and I see the world has changed. Not just now, but ever since I was a child, I could see that shift in the world. I think my formative years have been very crucial in what I've become today.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to your days at MIT School of Vedic Science. How was the experience and memorable moments from there?
So MIT, that's one of my last masters that I did. So Vedic Sciences was something that I wanted to do my PhD in, and hence I wanted to do my MSc in in Vedic Sciences. It was a wonderful experience because you've been reading these things as a child, and me being so curious about the Vedic concepts and the Upanishads, and I've already been reading this for years now. But when you get a structure to something, when you get like how is a stotra made, how is the shastra completed, what are the roots of all of this? I think I absolutely enjoyed that. The professors were wonderful, and I made some fantastic friends there who are spiritual friends now, who speak a lot about the Upanishads and the Purans. So I think it was an amazing journey. And I really feel that, and that's where my IKS blending in modern management started. Indian knowledge system should be a part of modern management because the Western world looks at that. So you have debates. We had Vad Vivad Shastra. The first thing that we had was Vad Vivad Shastra in India, Adi Shankaracharya. But it is now taken in the Western world without the ethical rules of it. I think it's important for individuals in management schools to learn these things. I think that's what I've taken from MSc in Vedic Sciences.
Beautiful. So what does a peaceful morning look for Anshul? Does meditation always feature in it?
Every single day. 3:45, every single day. That's like breath work. So that just you cannot skip that. A peaceful morning can be just, sitting in my balcony and looking at the sunrise at really early hours, breathing peacefully, hearing the birds start to wake up, and maybe like a nice cup of tea or coffee or black coffee, whatever I get my hands on, really not fussy about that. But yeah, and music. I'll play some Indian classical music early in the morning, or then you have a lot of YouTube where you have Gita chants. Play that in soft music and just sit in the balcony. I think that's a peaceful, happy morning for me.
Wow. So what's one childhood memory that still brings you instant calm or joy?
Ever since I remember, there was a mandir near my house. It's called Vitthal Mandir. Vitthal is, of course, a very Maharashtra thing. Yes. It's a form of Vishnu, Krishna, but it is a stoned mandir. It's got floors that's of stone. It's really cold when you sit on that floor. And in the evening, 7 o'clock, they used to have aarti there. So I used to go every 7 o'clock. My person who used to play with me used to take me to that mandir. And 7:15, that aarti used to happen. We used to sit on the floor, and that pujari used to give me those things to, the bells. And I used to happily, with my little tiny 2 feet and tiny 2 hands, used to go and play there and sit in that inside temple. And the sense of the memory of the coolness of that stone, the smell of that oil lamps, and the chants that used to go, I think that brings me immense amount of calmness.
Wow. So if your friends had to describe you in 3 words, what would they say?
um, notorious, um, calm, very calm, and at the same time, I don't know, a third, they call me a third eye, third perspective person. You'll always look at somebody as somebody else, and so three words are very little for them. If they had to describe me, I think they'll call me with oxymorons together. So they'll be happy and always laughing. I think I take life. I don't take life too seriously. It's not taking us too seriously.
Wow. So, which is that book or scripture besides Bhagavad Gita, which
Besides,
besides Bhagavad Gita, which has stayed with you and you feel a connection with that book or scripture?
yeah, Isha Upanishad is one. Mandukya Upanishad is one. Taittiriya Upanishad is one. Ashtavakra Gita is one, which is amazing a book. And if you look at other books, I think there's one called as 40 Rules of Love by Elisha Fuck. And I think it's a parallel story in the modern world and a parallel story of Rumi. How Rumi became Rumi, where, Shams Tabriz was there. And I think it's a very beautiful, spiritually, yet very happy book. I think that's one of the other books that I love to, I go back to, I like to read it. I'll randomly open some pages and read it. And there are many more, but few of this. There's another one of J. Krishnamurti, The Freedom from the Known. It's a worth reading a book.
Beautiful. So, which is that place on earth, Anshul, that feels most spiritually aligned with your energy?
I think anywhere near Ma Ganga, because Rishikesh will be one, but anywhere at the foothills of Himalaya and Ma Ganga, because the running water and still the steadiness, I think it really aligns my energy in a way that feels feels right. Everything feels right.
Wow, beautiful. So my last three questions are reflective. What legacy would you like to leave behind?
You've touched a very interesting nerve. I would like to leave behind a space where people can, and I'm for the first time in my life, I'm openly saying this. Because nobody's asked me this openly for ever on a show. But I would like to leave a space where people can come and explore and understand themselves. In the most simplistic manner, there is no glamour to it, because simplicity is the most complex thing that a person can experience. And a physical space where people can come and meditate and question and ask themselves and study about themselves. There is no jazziness to that space. Simple, clean, basic ABC.
Beautiful.
And that's after I die, somebody can take it over.
Okay. So my next one, since this is the Stree Shakti series, what does Stree Shakti mean to you?
Stree Shakti.
Yes.
Stree.
Stree Shakti.
Women power, you mean?
Whatever. The series name is Stree Shakti.
Stree Shakti. I think Stree is Prakriti. Prakriti means the whole world, the whole nature. She has the power to create, to manifest, to nurture and to destroy. So all three spaces where a woman can, and that's what Stree Shakti for me is. You have the power to do, get, manifest anything and everything, because you have Prakriti at the end of the day. And manifest not just materially, but emotionally, spiritually, all those areas. Nurture those things, because the innate nature of a Stree is nurturing. And Mother Earth herself is nurturing. And then, of course, destroy, because every destruction will have, and destruction does not mean like a bad destruction. It can be destruction of an ego. It can be destruction of a physical space. It can be destruction of a dismantling of a team, if a matter of fact, in an organization, she has the power to do those things. And I think that's what Sri Shakti is for me. She holds the power of universe. Brahma Anda is the womb. So I think she has the power to do everything that is possibly there.
Wow. So my last one is googly one. Describe Anshul in one line.
In one line,
Yes.
she is an instrument.
Beautiful. So let's put you in the hot seat, the rapid fire round.
Okay. I'm going to drink a sip of water before you start the rapid fire. Okay.
A quote you live by.
Yatachasi tatha kuru.
What does it mean?
Do as you please.
Wow. Stillness or action?
Stillness and action.
Your go-to mantra before a big session?
I'm not the doer. So it is not me who's doing it any which ways.
Wow. Meditation or manifestation?
Meditation, 100%.
You're a sunrise person or a sunset person?
Used to be sunset, now absolutely sunrise person.
One word that defines your leadership style?
One word, consciousness.
If you could have dinner with any spiritual figure, who would it be?
Well, you already know the answer.
But it's a rapid fire.
But Krishna it would be Krishna. It would be Krishna.
Okay. Your go-to comfort food?
Dal rice.
Best piece of advice received?
This too shall pass.
Coffee or green tea?
Coffee.
You're the coffee share. That's good.
It's coffee. 100% coffee.
Yeah. And you did well, and here's your gift.
Thank you.
And it has been autographed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So as the world continues to chase speed, voices like Anshul reminds us of the silent power of slowing down. Her journey from corporate corridors to conscious coaching proves that leadership isn't just about decision, it's just about depth. Through her work at the ModMonk Consultancy, she reminds every professional, every leader, that true success doesn't come from climbing the ladder faster, but from knowing where your ladder is leaning. Here's to more mindful leaders, conscious choices, and workplaces that pulse with purpose and peace happens. So like that, there are 500 plus coffee speakers who have shared their professional, personal journeys. Subscribe to the Coffee Corner Show on YouTube, listen, implement in your life, and see the changes. And we meet with another coffee speaker over a cup of coffee. So take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.